As you can imagine, one of the most important things to do for your family to ready for a disaster is to have food, water, and medicines available for at least 7 days. This is the kind of container that I use to store my food. I keep it outside in a shady side of the house, and in it I have canned goods and all kinds of foods that my family would eat in an emergency that does not require a lot of preparation. You should allow 1 gallon per person per day of bottled water. You can keep everything in this box. You should recycle the food once a year to keep it fresh, and you should also have a certain amount of cash in small bills and coins available in case you have access to some items that you can purchase, since ATM machines will not be working after a disaster. Now that you know about food and water storage, here are some things you can do inside your home to prepare for a disaster. You should keep sturdy walking shoes under your bed, because in an emergency you might find yourself jumping out of bed barefoot and stepping in broken glass. You want to avoid any injury if possible. I also keep a flashlight attached to the bed so that in an emergency, if the power is out, I can see where I'm going. Here are some other things you can do to prepare your home. In order to prevent any injury during a disaster, you want to make sure that any tall, heavy pieces of furniture are bracketed to the walls. You can see this does not move even if I shake it. As far as fragile items are concerned, you can secure these from toppling over by attaching this quake hold, which is a putty that doesn't leave any trace on the materials, and by twisting it down and into place, you can see that this is secure. As far as heavy hangings are concerned, wall hangings, you can put Velcro at the lower corners so that even if a jolt raises the picture a little bit, it will not topple off the nail because it's held in place. The most important thing to me has been to list the irreplaceable items in my household room by room. My experience has been that if you're panicky because you have to evacuate suddenly because of a fire, you will not remember where those items are in your house. You will run around and frantically pick up the wrong things. Focus not on monetary value, but on sentimental value. That might be something as simple as your children's artwork, photographs, etc. And by the way, with regard to photographs, be sure you store the negatives of all the family pictures at a friend's house, so that if you should lose your copies, there's another place to resort to for reprints. So you go room by room through your house and you list all those irreplaceable items that you want to grab right away. What I do is I go around with laundry baskets and pile the things in so I can carry them out to the car. From previous experience, I have found that I can evacuate everything in my house that is irreplaceable in 20 minutes. So this is well worth having. The reason it's attached to a cord is because last time I had to evacuate, I found myself putting this list down to grab items and then not remembering where I put it. That's how upset I was. So now I attach it around my neck with a cord so that it goes with me wherever I go. You should also know where the shut-offs for your water, electricity, and gas are. In an emergency, you want to shut the water off that comes into your house, because then you can keep the clean water in your water heater, toilet tank, etc. for consumption. Once there's a backflow from the system, that water becomes unusable. Be sure to shut off your electricity and gas if you're unsure whether they are a hazard, because later on there may be an aftershock and you'll be glad that that's taken care of. Remember, it's not just your home that you should prepare for an emergency, but also your workplace and your car. I'm going to show you what I keep in the trunk of my car. This comes in handy in all kinds of emergencies, but particularly for earthquakes. First of all, I have a backpack so that I can move the things around with me if I need to leave my car behind. In a cooler, I keep, first of all, some bottled water, some food items that are non-perishable, which I recycle once a year. Then I have some clothing items. I keep a cap in there, warm and summer clothing, and very importantly, a pair of comfortable walking shoes because I may be miles away from home and I want to make sure I can walk back to where I need to be. I also have a first aid kit. That comes in handy many times for minor injuries or whatever may happen in day-to-day life. I have a roll of toilet paper. I have heavy-duty work gloves, so if I have to move anything out of the way without getting my hands hurt, I can protect myself. I have a fire extinguisher. I have a rope, a flashlight with batteries, which need to be recycled once a year. I have disinfectant wipes. I also keep a blanket in the car. In the car, of course, I have my radio, which I could use to check on the status of whatever is happening. And this I found very handy. This is a map of the area. If I had to walk back from some area that I'm not usually in, you could easily check on here on the city map or out of the California, the state map, where the best routes may be. On the city map that I have inside my car, I could check where there are the least overpasses and so on. So these are some of the basics, and you can of course add whatever your family might need in an emergency. Here we are at a storage shed for our neighborhood. In our canyon, we have some supplies that will come in very handy if we're on our own for several days. Our canyon has 750 homes and about 2,500 residents. We've divided it into 12 zones, and in each zone, volunteers will be checking on everyone in a door-to-door search. For that purpose, we have search and rescue kits. We have all the paperwork that they need to know where the need is greatest. We have a flashlight that you can wear around your head so your hands are free. We have a gas shut-off gadget. We have flashlight and batteries. We have 2 safety helmets, dust masks, work gloves, a first aid kit, caution tape, goggles, and sterile gloves in case you have to handle somebody who's bleeding. With this kit, our volunteers will go around and provide whatever assistance is needed and let headquarters know if any additional medical aid is needed. We also have other supplies. We have some used wheelchairs, we have a few stretchers, we have medical supplies, all kinds of things that we can share amongst each other. One of the really important things in a disaster is a communication system. Our canyon uses these family radios to communicate canyon-wide. You want to make sure you have a sufficient range to cover the whole area. Our program could be adjusted to any size neighborhood. It could be as small as an apartment building, it could comprise a block, or it can comprise an area even larger than ours. We really encourage the residents in our canyon to be self-sufficient as far as food, water, and medicines are concerned, because it's impossible for us to provide those for this large a crowd. However, there are things we can do, namely share our material and human resources to help each other out. In our canyon, we send out a questionnaire every 2 years to all the residents, and they tell us whether they have senior citizens in the home, people with disabilities, minor children who might need to be attended to. We also know who has sleeping bags, tents, who has firefighting skills. We know where the doctors and nurses are, so we could gather our strengths in an emergency and basically be self-sufficient, we hope.